My name is Teresa Blumenstein, and I am the New York coordinator for the Justice Coalition of Religious, which is a team of many congregations who are represented at the United Nations headquarters in New York, and who are seeking to get many more members of religious family and their partners in mission involved in all of the advocacy opportunities that exist through the United Nations system. So I'm very happy to be starting this new journey with you that will continue now through the month of July.
Teresa, speak now.
When we have our actual session, the meeting itself of the high-level political forum for sustainable development. We have much work to do, much to learn from each other before then. So I will begin today by gathering us together in a very brief prayer. Gracious God, let our hearts be settled in you today as we celebrate the meeting of our many different paths and callings. Let us rejoice in the opportunity to become better acquainted with new partners and friends from many corners of creation. Let us be awake to your presence within each of them. We are grateful for this new opportunity to serve you as the source and the substance of our common mission and identity. We are humbled to be entrusted with the service and promotion of social, economic, and environmental justice in our local communities and in our global community. Guide us in our efforts to collaborate and change systems so that we may more effectively sow your generous light and love where they are needed most. Amen. Now, I would like for us to begin now that we have grounded and centered ourselves in a moment of spiritual communion, since we will be spending much time together over these next 7 months, really. We would like to begin with some way of getting to know each other in a personal way. And while there are many of us here on this call, which is wonderful, that means that we will need to keep our personal introductions brief. So what I will do is invite each of you in turn to introduce yourself by sharing your name, your congregation, and what country, what nation you are here representing as well. And I will, before we begin that, want to acknowledge 3 other very important leaders on this call who are going to be supporting us on this journey. And those are our interpreters. So if you are on the Spanish channel, you will be hearing very much from Ana Blasquez Ubach. If you are on the French channel, you will be hearing from Pascal Risk. And if you are on the Portuguese channel, you'll be hearing from Dalia Victor. And I want to just give deep thanks to all 3 of them for allowing this to be a truly global conversation and community, a sort of United Nations, united congregations of our own today. So now if I could invite us to begin introductions, and I will begin with who is at the top of my list. Dioro Dede. Are you able to hear me, Dioro? Dioro, if you can hear us, you're invited to introduce yourself. Okay, we will come back to him then and go to Alice. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm just barely hearing you now. Go ahead.
I am JCoR. I can barely hear his voice. I'm sorry. I am JCoR, but that's all I can hear.
Okay, thank you and welcome, JJ.
So it's lay missions, missionaries in Ivory Coast. That's what I'm getting. Okay.
Excellent, thank you. And now we'll go to Paulus Ramat.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. My name is Paul Rahmat from Vivat International based in New York. I'm happy to join this program to learn about the under process and how to do advocacy for SDG issues in this year. And I work with the Greece, our members based in Greece in this year. Thank you for the invitation to join this program. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome, Paul. And now to Milfer Vaz.
Hello, everyone. Nice. I will on my video. Yes. Hello, everyone. I'm Milfer Vaz from Sri Lanka. Happy to see and meet all of you. I'm very excited to be the part of this team. I belong to Claration congregation in Sri Lanka. I'm also part of the animation team. I'm also prefect to apostolate of the delegation. And I'm very happy that we are going to journey together for a few months on this journey.
Welcome, Milfer. And now to Alice Rosario. Alice Rosario, are you there? Alice, can you hear us? Alice Rosario? Okay, we'll come back to Alice. And to Andrew Cantona.
Yes, I'm Andrew Cantona from Ivory Coast, and I'm happy to be with you this day. I'm a Claration missionary. Yes, thank you very much.
Welcome, Andrew. And now to Anne-Marie O'Connor.
Hi, I'm Anne-Marie, and I represent Passionist International at the UN. And I'm hoping that a few of our people from Jamaica and the Philippines and one of our board members from Kenya might be joining us today. So I'm very happy to be with you. Thank you.
Welcome, Anne-Marie. And now to Antonella Luisi.
Bonjour, je suis Antonella Loisi.
Good morning, I'm Antonella. I'm a sister of the Congregation of the Sacred Heart. I live in Italy. I'm delighted to participate with you for the first time to this kind of meetings. I really hope I can benefit from it. Thank you very much.
Welcome, Antonella. And now to Augustin Manet.
Bonjour tout le monde, je suis Augustin Manet.
Hello everyone. I'm Augustin Manet. I work with the Salesians of Don Bosco in Senegal in the region of Dakar.
Welcome, Augustin. And now to Beth Lissman.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Great to be with you. My name is Beth Blissman, and I am the UN representative for the US-based Loreto community, and grateful to be with everyone on this journey. I'm hoping we'll be joined by another one of our advisory committee members who has connections in Bolivia, and also one of our sisters from a sister community from Ghana. We are active mostly in the United States, and we also have sisters in Pakistan. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Welcome, Beth. And now to Candice Jungao.
Hello, everyone. I am Candice de Ausen Hungao, a lay partner of the Society of the Sacred Heart in the Philippines. I have been an educator for more than 25 years, with 18 of those years at the forefront of providing education for the underprivileged. I am glad to be here. Thank you very much.
Welcome, Candice. And now to Corinne Sanders.
Good morning. Hello to everyone. I'm delighted to be here. I am Corinne Sanders. I'm a Dominican sister of Adrian. I live in the United States, and I will be companioning our sisters in the Philippines during these days. So it's great to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Corinne. And now to Christine Fernan.
Bonjour, moi c'est Joseph Alima, missionnaire claretin.
Hello, I'm a Claretian missionary in mission at Saint Thomé. Thank you.
Welcome, Ephraim, is it? And I see that Alice Rosario is with us now as well. Alice Rosario, would you like to introduce yourself? Your microphone is unmuted now, Alice. Go ahead.
Okay.
Hola. Yes, Alice, go ahead.
Okay. Deixa eu só tentar resolver os problemas técnicos, eu já vou continuar a falar.
Okay, I'm Alice Rosario, but I have some technical problems, so please let me just adjust with my technician and I will be back to you.
Okay, thank you, Alice. And we will go ahead to Dusty Farnan, please.
Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be with all of you. morning, noon, or evening, and to say that I'm here at the UN representing Dominican Leadership Conference, and I'm happy to be here and hoping our Dominicans in the Philippines will join us at one of these. Thank you.
Welcome, Dusty. And now to Flavia Campbell.
Buenos días. Bueno, mi nombre es Flavia Campbell. Soy laica.
Good morning. My name is Flavia Campbell. I'm a lay person working with a Claretian community in Buenos Aires, Argentina.
Welcome, Flavia. And now to Father Hilary Anadu.
And Henry Ramirez. I am Claretian.
My name is
I represent Proclade International ITN. I live in Jersey City.
Welcome, Henry. And now Father Hilary Anadu, are you there?
Então, olá a todos, boa tarde. Alice do Rosário, faço parte da coordenadora Paixão da Juventude da Paróquia Nossa Senhora de Fátima, em Santo Tomé.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Alice. I'm representing the congregation of Our Lady of Fatima. I'm so happy to be here with you, and I'm glad to join this journey with you. And sorry for the technical problems.
No problem. Welcome, Alice. And Father Hilary will come back to, so Francis Valiente.
Hola, ¿qué tal? Soy Francis Valiente, misionero claretiano.
Good morning. My name is Francis Valente. I'm a Claretian missionary. I'm in Argentina, and I will be representing Argentina in this HLPF on sustainable development that will take place in July. It is my first time here as well, and I'm very pleased to meet you all.
Welcome, Francis. And now to Genoveva Dumais.
Hello, everyone. I'm Genoveva Dumais, a Good Shepherd sister, and I'm here. I'm Manila-based here in the Philippines. Thank you.
Welcome, Genoveva. And now to Giovanna Reda.
Hello, everybody. My name is Giovanna Reda, and I am based in Rome. I am Italian. I work for the Good Shepherd International Foundation, which is linked to the congregation of Our Lady of Charity of the Good Shepherd. And I'm happy to join you in this journey. Thank you.
Welcome, Giovanna. And now to Jane Castillo.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. I'm Jane Caspilio, and I represent the Medical Mission Sisters of the United Nations. I'm a Filipina, but based here in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Nice to be with you all. Thank you.
Welcome, Jane. And now to Kathleen Nolan.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I'm Kathleen Nolan. I'm a Dominican sister of Adrian, Michigan. And I live in Michigan in the United States, and I'm companion.
Thank you. Welcome, Kathleen. And now to Claudio Willifred Yao.
Yes. I'm Claristan missionary in Ivory Coast. And this is all I got.
Okay, thank you. Welcome, Claudio. Thank you for being with us. And to Maria Pearson.
Hello, I'm Maria Pearson. I'm representing Salesians of Don Bosco in Argentina. I work in the NGO, which is dedicated to do fundraising for Salesians educative projects for poor kids and young in Argentina. It's a pleasure to be here. It's my first time.
Welcome. And we hear some children there too. They're welcome
yes.
also.
Always three.
Wonderful. And now we will go next to Marides Santos.
Hello everyone, I'm Marides. I'm representing Vivat International at the United Nations. And I'm hoping to work with our Vivat members in the Philippines and in Greece for the BNR. Thank you.
Welcome, Marides. And now to Miguel Angel Velasco Lopez.
Wow, so all my name and surnames, incredible. So I was born in Spain, and I am finally now here in Jersey City after 2 years waiting for this situation. And I am a Clarissan missionary and a member of this Clarissan team at the United Nations. Thank you to JCoR for all your initiatives and activities like that.
Excellent. Welcome, Miguel Angel, to this room and to Jersey City also. Great to have you here. And now to Nenesio Afonso.
Boa tarde.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I am from São Tomé, and I'm here just to represent the congregation of Our Lady of Fatima. This is my first time. I'm very happy to be among you, and I think that we have a good task to perform and to face a lot of problems, but we are here just to find some solution. This is a precious moment for me. Thank you so much.
Thank you and welcome, Nenesio. And now we will go next to Patu Relay Pascal.
That's me on my second device.
Oh, I see.
The
okay.
French interpreter.
I see. Thank you. Then we'll go to Reina Bersola.
Hi, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone. I'm Rena Bersola. I'm a lay partner of the Society of the Sacred Heart, and I'm from the Philippines. Happy to be with and meet everyone. Thank you.
Welcome, Rela. Thank you for being here. Now to Robert Almondi.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Clarissan missionary, at the moment based, but representing South Swanga delegation, which means Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. Thank you.
Welcome, Robert. Covering much ground. And now to Silvana Ferez.
Buenos días, buenas noches, buenas tardes.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Silvana Ferret. I'm a sister of the Sacred Heart of Jesus, and I represent Argentina and Uruguay. And I'm living in Montevideo in Uruguay at the moment. And I'm very happy as well to be here and sharing with you all.
Welcome, Silvana. And now to Sister Mary Virgo Espineda.
Hello, good evening. I'm from the Philippines, and I belong to the Congregation of Our Lady of Charity of the Good Shepherd. I'm happy to be here and to be part of this global learning community, the JCoR. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Welcome, Sister Mary. And now to Terence Dominic.
Hello, I am Rohan Dominic. Okay, Terence also is my name. I'm a Claretian representative to the United Nations. I'm here in Jersey City. I'm happy that many of our members are here, and some are finding difficult to enter with the registration link. It is causing some problems. But we have, I think, members from 10 countries supposed to participate in this JCoR journey. Thank you.
Excellent. Welcome, Rohan. And now to Teresa Cotron.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone. I'm Teresa Koturan, a Sister of Charity of Nazareth, representing Sisters of Charity Federation at the UN here in New York. Glad to be here, part of this venture.
Welcome, Teresa. And now to another Teresa, Teresa Simons.
Hello, everyone. I'm Teresa Simmons. I'm based in Malaysia, and I work for the Good Shepherd Sisters, and I'm happy to be here.
Welcome, Teresa Simmons. And now to Yolanda with the Society of the Sacred Heart.
Hi to everyone. Hi, Teresa. Thank you for organizing everything. My name is Yolanda Jimenez. I'm a Spanish born in Switzerland. I'm now based in Rome, and I'm a lay person representing the Society of the Sacred Heart for Italy. Thank you very much for everything.
Welcome, Yolanda. And now to Mbang Mumuko. Oh, I see there's no microphone for that, that device. I'm sorry there. We won't be able to hear. If you do have a microphone for your device and it's just not connecting, you might try to leave the room and enter again. Sometimes that helps with that problem. But otherwise, welcome. Let me see if there's anyone we missed the first journey around who may be able to speak up now. I think maybe Corinne? Not Corinne Sanders, but a different Corinne. Or let's try for Joseph Zoa Alima.
Bonjour.
Eu não me he presentado. Capaz que chegue
I already introduced myself, I think. Well, let me introduce me. I arrived a little bit late. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. I'm here in Uruguay, and I'm representing the province of St. Joseph, the Claretian missionaries. I'm very happy to be here. I'm fascinated by the opportunity of being together with the whole world.
Yes, it is fascinating, and welcome. Oh, I see Mbang Mumuko. It is connected now on microphone, so go ahead.
Yes, good afternoon, everybody. Greetings, I'm happy to be part of this meeting. Can you hear me?
Yes, we do.
Okay. I'm saying that I'm happy to be part of this meeting. I'm participating from Cameroon, in charge of the UN Secretariat here in Cameroon, a Claretian and priest.
And can you tell me how to pronounce your name correctly, as I'm sure I have it wrong?
Which of them, the first or the last?
Both.
Okay, that is Mbang. Mbang.
Bang, okay.
And the other one is Mumuko.
Okay, okay. Thank you. Welcome, Bang. Okay, and then let's go to Joseph Zoa Lima. Joseph?
Bon. Et bon après-midi à tous.
Hello. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Joseph from the missionary Clariton Missionary. This is my first time participating with you, and I'm glad to be here.
Welcome, Joseph. And to Father Hilary Anadu, are you there? Okay. And I think we have not heard from Michelle Loisel yet. Michelle?
Greetings to all from New York. And my name is Michelle Loisel. I am a daughter of charity and originally from France. And I represent the Daughters of Charity in the UN. Thank you for inviting me for this in this wonderful team, and before all to JCoR with all these unbelievable activities. Thank you very much, Teresa.
Welcome, and thank you for being here, Michelle. Is there anyone else who still has not had the opportunity to introduce themselves? Oh, okay. Sheila. Sorry, it's because you're the host at the top of the list. I missed you. Go ahead, Sheila.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm Sheila Smith, and I represent the Society of the Sacred Heart at the United Nations. I'm accompanying our delegation from around the world, and they're all here. Thank you.
Welcome, Sheila. And to Beth Suleza.
Hello, everyone. I'm Beth Suleza, a religious of the Sacred Heart from the Philippines. Thank you.
Welcome, Beth.
Yes.
Anyone else still need to introduce?
Yes, me.
Please go ahead, Carmen.
Okay. Sorry for coming late, but it was impossible to enter. My name is Carmen, Carmen Elisa Mandeo. I am missionary sister of the Holy Servant of the Holy Spirit. I am based right now in Madrid, but I will work for Greece.
Thank you, and welcome, Carmen. Is there
Yes,
anyone
thank
else
you.
still waiting to introduce themselves?
Hola.
Yes, Soledad, please go ahead.
Hello. Perdón la tardanza.
I'm sorry that I'm late, but I had another meeting. I work with the solutions, and we had a meeting right now. My name is Soledad Castaña. I am a technician working for projects and strategic planning for the solutions in Uruguay. And at the same time, at the moment, I'm in charge of projects and strategic alliances for the trampoline organization and for the environmental commission of our region, which is Uruguay in the International Organization of Latin America.
Excellent. Welcome, Soledad. Thank you for being here. And now to Efrain Vázquez.
Buenas noches a todos y todas.
Good evening, everyone. It's night here. I'm a Christian missionary in Sri Lanka, and I am working as a missionary here. I'm a member of the Solidarity Commission of Sri Lanka, and I'm very happy to be here with you and to be able to speak to you all. It is amazing. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Welcome, Ephraim. And now, have we heard from everyone, or is anyone still waiting? Okay, I think we have now all met each other. What a wonderful large group we have together here from truly all over the planet. And it's really wonderful to be in one virtual room with you, and looking forward to a day when perhaps we could be in an actual room together. But the time, you know, this is a miracle unto itself. So we're grateful for that. So I want to begin this whole journey by offering some introduction to why this coalition exists, that is JCoR, and how it is that we have this opportunity to participate in a process happening within the United Nations. And so I will start us with some introduction in that regard. So JCoR is a short name, the acronym for the Justice Coalition of Religious. And in short, that is a community of women and men religious and their partners who are working for global transformation, both at the United Nations and all around the world. And it's governed by 20 organizations that represent Roman Catholic religious at the United Nations. All of them have representatives at UN headquarters in New York. And all of these organizations are committed in the same way to improving the well-being of people who are living in poverty and the well-being of the natural environment. And collectively, this community has a presence in over 80 countries. And you can see here is a list of the names of the organizations who are present at the UN, who represent a much larger community of really close to about 200 different congregations. And the shared goal that brings all of these organizations together is to enhance our collaboration, both at the United Nations and around the world, in our work to address not just the immediate needs of poverty, violence, and environmental destruction, but the root causes of poverty, violence, and environmental destruction, as well as unsustainable development. And now I'd like to speak a bit about why it is that religious congregations would seek to have a voice and a role in a system like the United Nations, and how it is that we're able to do that. So I'll start off with why. Why do we participate as religious congregations in a system that seems, at least on the surface, to be very secular and very devoted to political leadership? What is the reasoning for spiritual leaders to become active in such a system? And I like to begin my explanation by highlighting the Charter of the UN itself, which is something like the Constitution of the United Nations. And it begins with a very important phrase, "We the peoples of the United Nations." And I always like to point that out because we might expect from the way that we hear about the United Nations on the news or in written reports that it would be something like we, the governments of the world, we, the presidents, we, the prime ministers. In fact, this institution, the United Nations, was designed to represent not governmental, not political leaders, meant to represent all the peoples of the world, which is all of us, it's all of the communities we serve, and it is also political leaders, but not only them. And so it begins that way with we the peoples, all of us, and together our work through this union of nations is to save succeeding generations from the scourge of war, reaffirm faith in the dignity and worth of the human person, establish justice, to promote social progress and better standards of life in larger freedom. And for these ends, we're seeking to practice tolerance, to live in peace together with one another as good neighbors, as good Samaritans, you might think. Unite our efforts to maintain international peace, to ensure that armed forces are not used, to promote the economic and social advancement of all peoples. When I read these words, these being the founding words for the entire United Nations system, I can't help but hear many similarities, many connections to the principles that we all pursue and seek to uphold that we know from our Catholic social teaching. This notion of common good, of preferential option for the poor, of solidarity, dignity of the human person. All of these ideas are reflected in the very founding document of the United Nations, which makes it seem, upon closer inspection, not such a secular institution after all, but in fact, one that began from a place of very high ideals of spiritual quality. And a bit of further evidence of where we see our own mission and our own objectives reflected in the UN system is in the human rights framework, which is sort of like the backbone, the spine of how the UN system works. And it aims to realize or to establish a global consensus, a global agreement, and a way of holding each other accountable toward things like universal human rights, civil and political rights, economic, social, and cultural rights, the elimination of discrimination against women, the elimination of torture, the rights of migrant workers and their families, the rights of persons with disabilities, the rights of children, elimination of racial discrimination. Again, in all of these concepts and all of this work, I hear again the echoes of our principles of social teaching, but presented in a secular language. And of course, I want to highlight a concept, an agenda with which many of you may already be very familiar. And that is the UN system's whole agenda for the years 2015 to 2030 is known as the Sustainable Development Goals, or the SDGs, or in Spanish ODS, or in French ODD. And these are a set of 17 goals that really paint a picture. They offer an illustration of the world that we all might imagine if we saw each one of our ministries having complete success and achieving everything we want, everything we dream of for the communities that we serve. these are some of the features. These are the ideas that we would use to describe that wonderful, beautiful future that maybe we would refer to as the reign of God or the city of God, because we would, of course, want things like no poverty, no hunger, good health and well-being, quality education for everyone, gender equality, clean water and sanitation, affordable and clean energy, decent work and economic opportunity, industry, innovation, and infrastructure, reduced inequalities both within our country and between our countries, sustainable cities and communities, responsible patterns of consumption and production, climate action, protecting the ecosystem below water and on land, and a peaceful society is characterized by justice and strong institutions. And of course, to keep everything working, we would need much partnership. So these are the Sustainable Development Goals. This is the center of everything that the UN is working on from now until 2030. And we can see much overlap between this agenda and the work that we're all doing in our ministries all over the world. And so I pause here to just offer an opportunity for each of you, if you have not already done so, to take a look at this image, at these ideas, and ask yourself, where do you see your ministry here? Where does this agenda reflect the work that you do on a regular basis? And perhaps, where do you see the charism of your own congregation? What is the focus? What has been the contribution that you and your community have made over decades or centuries by prioritizing it? Just giving a moment there for reflection. And I'd like to pause just a moment and ask, especially for those who are able to have their cameras on, or maybe you can use your digital hand, but just to get a sense of our room, I'd like to ask, who among us is working in your ministry on SDG number 1, which is to end poverty? And if you are, just raise your hand either physically or digitally. If you want to use your digital hand, it's under the reactions button. There's an option to raise your hand. I'm seeing many hands going up now. Wonderful. Now, I'm lowering everyone's hands. And I'll ask, moving on to goal number 2, is there anyone among us who is working on hunger or food security? Beautiful. And now I know this is a big ministry for many. Is anyone working on the area of health, good health and well-being? And education. Who is engaged in education? Ooh, many hands, many hands. The screen is full of them. That's great. And is anyone involved in a ministry related to gender equality? Wonderful. How about clean water and sanitation? Excellent. Now we'll try good work opportunities, employment, and training for jobs. Wonderful. And now I'll take a group of 3 of them together. Is anyone working on environmental work, climate action, or protecting biodiversity or conservation? Wonderful. Hands and hearts, I love that. And how about for reducing inequalities, or we might think of that as social inclusion or reducing discrimination? Beautiful. So we can see from this display, from this show of hands, and I thank you for playing along in that exercise, but it really illustrates how integrated this community is in all parts of the world. Your handprint, your work is really everywhere in this agenda, which is the very reason that your voice and your experiences are such an important contribution when leaders of all kinds are meeting to have conversations about how we can achieve these wonderful ideals. Of course, we need to speak to you, the practitioners, and particularly the practitioners who are working among the most vulnerable communities and who have been part of those communities for a very long time, who are not new to the situation. You have tremendous expertise and important knowledge to share. And so I'm so glad that all of you are present and engaged to be part of this conversation. So now I'll jump back for a moment to our visuals. And just continue to say a bit more about the spiritual nature of the United Nations and why spiritual leadership has a role there. And this is a quotation from the former UN Deputy Secretary General. So basically the second highest leader within the UN structure. And he offered that it's important to realize that there is an element of spirituality needed in what we do. And there he's speaking, of course, about the work of the United Nations, the work of diplomats. said it's important in order to stop the trend of dividing humanity to us and them. The most important word in the world is together. So there he was offering an argument in favor of not dividing the spiritual and the secular, but bringing both of those sources of knowledge and wisdom together so that they can fuel and support one another. And here is another wonderful quotation from Dr. Aza Karam and Dr. Matt Weiner. Dr. Karam was formerly the senior advisor of the UN Population Fund. And she is a tremendous advocate for the role of faith leaders in the UN system. And together, she and Dr. Weiner pointed out that, as we were just saying, the UN system deals with a very wide range of issues that affect global communities, whether it's human rights, population, food, agriculture, health, trade, protecting children. And for all of these issues on which the United Nations is working, religion plays a powerful, complementary, moral, social, economic, and political role for those communities who have been disenfranchised, who have been pushed to the margins. And he also makes the point that religious social service networks preceded the UN. Most of you existed long before there was a United Nations, or even before there were even states. Some of the countries that exist now did not exist when your congregations were established. And from that history, you have reached more people and are more deeply entrenched than any other organization in the communities that we need to hear, the communities who most need stronger representation in a place like the United Nations. So that's another piece of advocacy for your presence from someone within, very much within the UN system. And from the other side, we also hear this same idea from our spiritual leadership. And of course, we don't limit the notion of spiritual leadership to our popes and to our encyclicals. We do have many wonderful examples of bringing the spiritual and political together from those encyclicals. So I'll just offer a few examples here. From Evangelii Gaudium, Pope Francis's encyclical, is offered the idea that politics is a lofty vocation and one of the highest forms of charity inasmuch as it seeks the common good. I'm firmly convinced that openness to the transcendent can bring about a new political and economic mindset, and that such a mindset would help break down the wall currently separating economy and the common good of society. So there, Pope Francis underlining the importance of bringing spiritual leadership, spiritual thought to help us transcend some of the conflicts that keep us from making progress in political spaces. And in Deus Caritas Est, Pope Benedict XVI offered, the Church cannot and must not remain on the sidelines in the fight for justice. She must play her part through rational argument, and she must reawaken the spiritual energy without which justice cannot prevail and prosper. The promotion of justice through efforts to bring about openness of mind and will to the demands of the common good is something which concerns the Church deeply. So there, Pope Benedict offering that while the Church cannot replace the work of government or the state, and it doesn't seek to, it does play an important role in keeping those who lead the state, who lead the government, open and oriented toward the common good. And in Laudato Si, Pope Francis offers that we need to think of all of the problems in our world as deeply integrated and connected. We're not faced with separate crises, one environmental, another social, another economic, but rather with one complex crisis, which is both social and environmental. Strategies for a solution demand an integral approach to combating poverty, restoring dignity to the excluded, and at the same time, protecting nature. So we can't take any problem in isolation, and we can't divide ourselves into different groups to resolve them either. It needs to be a united effort from all sectors of society. And so from there, now that we have said a little bit about why it is that religious congregations have a presence in the UN system, I'd like to say a bit about how it is that we are present and participating in the UN system, as that's something that is really a secret that's well kept beyond those of us who have had the opportunity to work on behalf of congregations in New York. So this is a very, very simplified kind of map or chart of the UN system. And within the system, this green bubble over here to the right is the Economic and Social Council. And that is the primary point of entry for most congregations who participate in UN activities. And within this system, we as congregations are considered NGOs or non-governmental organizations. And while we don't always think of ourselves that way, that's how we fit into the bigger structure. And there are about 30 NGOs who have an accreditation with the UN, who represent over 200 different Catholic religious congregations. So it's actually quite a strong presence within that community. And because we are accredited, that means that we have the opportunity to participate in various UN proceedings by making oral statements when issues are being discussed or submitting statements in writing. We're able to meet with diplomats or representatives of various governments. We're able to participate in UN conferences when they gather to discuss a specific topic for many days at a time. We're able to even sponsor our own events, both inside and in the area surrounding UN headquarters, which helps us to highlight some of our own priorities and bring voices of those from marginalized groups, sometimes literally inside the United Nations, to have their stories told, tell their own stories. We're also able to make both formal and informal recommendations when the United Nations is negotiating a new document or resolution or agreement of some kind. We are often invited to have some input into that text. And we're also able to submit reports and comments on the status of human rights and of well-being in the various nations where we are present. And it's that last point really that brings this group together, as we will be endeavoring to do some reporting, make some contribution on the progress that each of our nations is making toward achieving those sustainable development goals that we were all looking at earlier. And I want to point out as really a point of pride for me as someone who has the privilege of getting to work with and sometimes to represent religious congregations at the United Nations. I want to share that the religious voice in the UN system is recognized as having many positive qualities that make it a powerful and impactful voice. First, the religious congregations are known to be experts in whatever that is that they are speaking about. You provide insights from your congregation's work ministering to the poorest and to the most vulnerable populations on the ground. So you speak from a place of real experience. Your voice is also known to be impartial because you come from communities that reach across many different nations, and you don't really stand on a national identity so much as a less political but more spiritual community. Your voice is also known to be a credible one because you're very well known and recognized to be people who practice the values that you preach. You live your care for human dignity and for the natural environment through intentionality and dedicated service, and this is recognized in the UN community. Your voice is also one that provides a steadiness and stability because religious congregations tend to maintain consistent positions based on your constitutions and social teaching and your principles, all of which are older than the United Nations, older than many nations, and that really brings some continuity and some cohesion to a global conversation that can so easily kind of swing forward and backward, make progress and then step backwards in response to changing of political leaders and which party is in power at any given moment and what ideas or projects that particular leader or party is going to promote. So in that way, governments can be less reliable from one year or one decade to the next, but the religious congregations tend to be more consistent in the causes and the points that you want to bring to the conversation. And finally, and very importantly, the religious voice is also known to be a very collaborative one in the UN system because the representatives of your congregations have for a long time done excellent work speaking and working together through various forms of coalitions and committees. And this collaborative way of working is extremely important because it not only speaks, it's not only about speaking to governments when we work at the UN, it's also about modeling for governments how we would like them to work among themselves. And so by working in committees and coalitions and prioritizing our common goals and the common good ahead of our individual glory or achievement, we're modeling that same behavior for governments and really, again, practicing exactly what we preach. And so on the point of collaboration and of bringing our voices together to report on the status of sustainable development in our respective countries, that is what brings this group together today. This is what brings us together at this moment. We have behind us the SDGs, which are really a call to action for us. They were adopted in 2015, and they were agreed to unanimously by all of the governments who are present at the United Nations, which means that every government has committed to achieving this agenda for the alleviation of human and environmental suffering. Of course, in order for these to be achieved in a just manner, it prioritizes the poorest and really includes everyone and leaves no one behind, we need to be sure that people from all groups, all sectors of society are able to actively participate and contribute and have a role not only in implementing these goals, as you all do daily in your ministries, but also in the work of monitoring progress toward these goals. And that's sort of what this HLPF is all about. It's about monitoring how much progress we're making toward each of these goals and having our voice in that conversation. And as we've mentioned already, your voice is very important. Women and men religious have been working toward these SDGs for centuries. You are very well positioned to guide the global and local leaders in fulfilling the great promise of this agenda. And so your voice in this process of monitoring, as well as all the work you're already doing to implement these goals, is really critical to ensuring that when leaders meet, discuss how well we're doing, that there's truth in that conversation, that the perspectives from the communities you serve are part of that conversation, and that we don't just focus on all of the areas where it's easier to have success. And so that brings us to the HLPF, the High-Level Political Forum on Sustainable Development, which is the annual global meeting at which nations, meaning both government and civil society, are invited to examine their progress toward SDG achievement and to propose implementation adjustments, meaning what is not working and what should be changed in order for us to accelerate our progress toward these goals. Now, you as a global community who are dedicated to the poor, to the oppressed, to the earth, you're called to engage in this process in order to hear how it is that your political leaders are telling the story of your national reality, and also to bring the stories and concerns of the communities you serve to the center of this global conversation. And as an added point of what brings us together at this moment in history, we also recognize the need for greater collaboration as we participate in processes like monitoring the SDGs. We recognize the reality within our institutions and organizations is that we have smaller numbers of vocations to religious life globally. And that requires that we take more creative approaches to our ministry in a way that allows us to benefit from both our unique charisms as individual congregations and the wisdom that that charism brings, but also in a way that we can benefit from the strength of the common mission of all that we share, of all of our common goals. And as we could see in the raising of the hands earlier, we surely have a lot in common in our goals among ourselves and with the larger UN community as well. We also feel a call to collaboration in this process because we recognize that political spaces are becoming more closed and less receptive to the voices of civil society, especially voices from the marginalized communities that we serve. And so it has become ever more important that we work and learn to speak with an organized and unified voice and allow ourselves to use and to protect the spaces that we still have very effectively. So I want to pause there after having spoken for many minutes and offer an opportunity if there's anyone who might like to ask a question or add a point or a comment that was coming to you as you were hearing some of these concepts and ideas. Is there anything anyone would like to ask or to share? I invite you to raise your hand either in your video or digitally under the reactions button. And when I see a hand, I will invite you to take the floor. And I'll also say if there are any points anyone else from the community at the United Nations would like to add, something that I didn't mention that you'd like to add, please feel free to improve, to build upon what I've already shared. Okay, I see Genoveva Dumais.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Teresa, for the very clear of looking at the SDGs as actually a concretization of God's kingdom, the reign of God. I love that. And indeed, we cannot separate the well-being of our people to actually the mission of Jesus, the well-being of our people, liberation from all forms of slavery. Thank you.
Thank you, Genoveva. And Michelle Loisel?
Well, thank you so much, Teresa. This is a very informative, meeting. And I like very much, the way you present the religious people making a difference in the world. And I think sometimes, personally, I don't see myself like this as a person beginning in the UN. And I think it's just a dimension that you bring, in the life of a new person, trying to do something as NGO rep. Thank you so much.
Glad I can point out how extremely important and valuable you are. That is definitely how I see you. Thank
you.
And to Alice Rosario.
Então, mais uma vez, boa tarde a todos.
Once again, hi to everyone. I would like to thank you so much, Teresa, for your presentation. It was very informative, and I knew a lot about the SDGs. I would like to ask you a favor. If you can send this presentation to all of us after this meeting, it will be very helpful if I will have something written in front of me. So I will be able to review all these details again. Thank you so much. And I liked your presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Alice. And yes, I will definitely share the presentation that will come in an email from me after each session. We'll share all the resources, so you can expect that. And now I see the hand. I'm not sure. The name is Henry Ramirez Soler, but I know it's not Henry. So if the person whose name is written as Henry Ramirez Soler, if you'd like to speak, you can go ahead.
I think it's Olave Mikhail.
I am not Henry.
No, it's not Miguel. Okay, well then we'll go to Efrain Vasquez.
Okay, so for me, Michael. So Thank you, Teresa, for your presentation. Just plenty of fire. No, this is a very necessary now for us. No, so 2030 agenda for me is an opportunity to talk about the future of humanity, not only inside the church, but also outside the church and together with others. So this is an opportunity. So this is, so I don't know how many times in the history we have this opportunity with us, you know, here in in United Nations, of course, but also in other places, because we are all around the world in places Christian with Christian believers and non-Christian believers, no? But 2030 agenda is a meeting point for everything and for a lot of values in common with our gospel. So thank you for your presentation.
Of course, thank you, Miguel Angel. And now we'll go again. So the person whose name is listed as Henry, would you like to unmute and speak?
I think he doesn't know that his name is placed as Henry, the one who was raising the hand.
Actually, he can rename himself. He can rename himself.
He not reply any chat.
What is his name? Can you, Henry, can you call his name?
Hello.
Hello. He was raising his hands
Oh,
manually.
Yes. Yes, please.
Yes.
Parlez, s'il vous plaît. Speak.
Mas esse aqui não é meu nome. Eu sou o Padre Ezequiel, mas não, aqui está
Ezequiel, okay.
I am Father Hezekiel. I don't know what is the name that appears here. Okay, my name is Father Hezekiel. I have a question here. From all what we learned and listened today from this presentation, I would like to say that there is one objective that I would like to mention, which is for me the most important one, which is the elimination of poverty. If we would like to speak about this, I know that the rest of the objectives are very important, and all the goals, they came from the United Nations, and they meant to be in favor of all the world, but in a practical way. I think that the eradication of poverty, this will promote actually all the dimensions of the rest of the goals. So I think that if we will be able to arrive to hunger zero, I think that there is other potentialities, big potentialities that will enter here just to react against our works. You know, maybe there will be another war. What will happen then? For example, here in New York, in the United Nations, there is, let us say, the head of all of this. But if we will see, for example, this competition with Russia, with China, they would like to make some war for this. Maybe they will not be happy with this hunger zero. Who will suffer? It's not these great powers, but it's only the lower societies. It's us who are working with these marginalized societies. I would like to know how we can reach this, how we can make this equation. Because you know that hunger became such a business to make this equation. How we can be the mediator between the big powers and the poor people. Maybe the United Nations still now need to do something towards this point. If we are here in Africa, and when we are listening the word Africa, you know that the punishment is very severe sometimes onto us. You cannot imagine what we are going through. So I think the United Nations should give or should underline a little bit on this way and should be more efficient in eradicating this hunger. Thank you. This was my contribution, but also it's a question and it's a challenge to all of you.
Yes, thank you, Father Ezekiel. Yes, you're exactly right. It's a question, it's a contribution, and it's a challenge. And I want to lift two very important points that you shared, which is one, this idea that in a way, if we think about it critically, every one of us is working on every one of those SDGs. And of course, we prioritize, one area or another according to our gifts, our skills, our charism. In fact, they're all completely related and no one of them can possibly be achieved unless they all are. So in a way, we're really, every one of us, working on every goal. And so wherever we choose to make our contribution, we should recognize we contribute to the whole. And secondly, I very much agree with the point that we need to, wherever possible, we need to act as mediators. We are people who have access to the communities and to the experiences of the poorest, of the hungry, of the marginalized. And because of this way that this UN system is organized, we also have some access to political leaders in a way that most people do not. And so it's through a delegation like this, a process like this, we seize that opportunity to act as mediators and to really make the most of this special role that you all have as having access to both worlds and both groups. So I thank you very much, Father Ezekiel, for the challenge, and I completely agree. And now we'll go to Efrain Vasquez.
Thank you very much. I am very happy having your very clear explanation about our role of religious into this big system in the world. It's clear that our religious identity can inspire a lot to see new ways, and with the inspiration of God, of course, the reality and our also decisions and actions. The second point I have, this is a question for the members who are engaged in this. What is about the coordination with the other denominations or Christian denominations like Protestants or this, and then also with other religions in the world or representatives, those who are in UN? I think it would be nice to see in that way, because religious rule into the society has to inspire, but also engage with all other forces that can help a lot. Thank you.
Thank you, Efrain. And I will say that, yes, we definitely meet in our daily activities. We do partner with and work in committees with those representing their faith groups, certainly many Christian groups, but also faiths other than Christian. There are many forms of faith leadership that are present in the UN system, which, as you say, really only improves and strengthens the body of representatives. And so we are often working together with those other representatives on committees that are dedicated to a specific issue of concern. For example, on a committee dedicated to gender equality, or a committee dedicated to migration, the rights of migrants, or a committee dedicated to water and sanitation. So there are many different channels in which we're all always working across those lines and finding much in common with those who are leaders in their own faith tradition.
Thank you.
And now I'll go to Mbang.
Attention. Hello.
Yes, we hear you, Mbang.
So I was saying that one of the things caught my attention. One is political. It's somewhat idea. The United Nations is all about.
I'm sorry, Mbang.
Politics.
Mbang, I'm sorry. Your sound is very broken. May I help you turn off your camera?
Okay. Okay, can you hear me clearly?
It is better. Oh, but now you're muted.
I really appreciate it a lot because growing up, we've often the United Nations was all about politics. You know that the lives of the lives of the people, and today with your presentation and knowing our religious, what we should do in order to participate actively. And that thing that I underline is the collaborative ministry. These are some of the keywords that have really touched me, and that I feel that if we put into practice, it will be very, very good. Thank you very much. These are just the points that I wanted to highlight, that as religious, we still have a long way to go in order to collaborate with the United Nations and make our world a better place. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mbang. So if anyone was struggling here, I think the main point Mbang was making is that he sees collaboration as a central element of the work that we need to do in order to be effective in achieving all of the work that we hope to achieve in our ministries and the work that the UN hopes to achieve in the SDGs. So thank you, Mbang, for sharing that. And now I'll go to Paul Ramat.
Yeah. Thank you, Teresa, for your presentation. It was informative and inspiring. When you made a presentation, one is struck with me is about the spiritual dimension at the UN. We know that UN is a very political and secular institution, but they recognize also the spirituality or this spiritual dimensions aspects in this world. Then I think that is the very unique of presence, religious group presence at the UN to contribute for this in this world. And the second point I want to say that the other challenges is how to communicate, transform, or transcend the language of the UN to our work on the daily basis, on the grassroots. We are religious. If we use the language of the religious, like pastoral ministry, but the UN have another language like SDGs, human rights. So there is challenges, quite challenges for us who work at the UN and as especially the grassroots to transform this language from UN to the grassroots with our people and the language of the people as religious to the UN. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. That's a wonderful point, that we have the barrier not only of language interpretation that's happening today in this Zoom room between languages of the world and languages of different sectors. And that's part of why we think it's so valuable to have conversations in this religious space about the Sustainable Development Goals, because that is now essentially a universal language that's being used in every country of the world. And so it's kind of a unifying language where we can use one framework to describe all of the many wonderful works that are being done in so many different communities. So we really see this agenda, these SDGs, as a wonderful meeting point for that language when we talk about what is our work, what is our ministry. This is a language that can work almost everywhere as long as we learn it. And so that's why we come together and do our best to learn that. So thank you very much, Paul. And now to Henry Ramirez.
Yes, thank you. Speak in Spanish. Creo que a partir de las
I
intervenciones.
believe that after these interventions and questions and the great presentation of Teresa, I would like to highlight the fact that the political part requires an advocacy level that it can't be only global, it needs to be local as well. And this is our challenge, because we sometimes tend to ask the UN to do, why is the UN not doing this or that? But we need to put some pressure on our local and on our national governments. It's not just that, it's the combination of the two forums. We need to learn how to articulate our local work, because we're doing some wonderful local work, but we need to insert it or grow so that we can have an effect on the global level. We are growing before the UN, but at a local level, we need to learn how to be heard at the administration level, at the political level, locally, nationally, and globally. That's all.
Thank you, Henry. Yes, that's another point when we talk about integration. We're speaking not only of environmental, economic, and social types of issues that are integrated, but also the conversation and the work happening in different spaces and different levels, that also needs to be integrated. So thank you for that point. And now I see one final hand, and that is Dioro. Sorry, Dede Dioro.
Thank you very much.
Oui, je vous attends. Ah, d'accord. Je disais, vous m'entendez maintenant? Okay.
I was saying
Et il s'avère que ça a été relancé en 2015 avec 17 objectifs.
so.
La coalition qui a été créée en 2017 dans nos discussions en prenant en compte ce qui n'a pas marché dans le plan de 2000.
It's very hard for me to get his question because the volume keeps going high and low, high and low. I'm going to ask him to write the question in the chat, if that's helpful.
Yes, that's perfect. And while we are waiting for JJ's question in the chat box, is there any other hand, any other comment anyone would like to make? Yes, Miguel Angel, go ahead.
Okay, yes, just a commentary, brief commentary. I was remembering a conversation or opinion by Miguel Angel Moratinos, that is the High Representative for the Alliance of Civilizations, in one of the JCoR Zoom, saying that our presence as religious organization inside the United Nations organization is very, very important. So talking about 2030 agenda, he told us, so your presence to give a spiritual, but especially a moral sense and put this heart in the middle of 2030 agenda is very, very important. And this is your task.
Exactly right. Thank you. And I see Flavia's hand, and I also just saw Flavia has written a question in the chat box, so I'll answer that. Flavia asked if we could have the material, presentation material in other languages also. That is something I can do. However, I'll apologize in advance that it will be an imperfect translation, as we will probably need to use an automatic translation tool for at least some of that. So I'll apologize. I will send it in multiple languages, but apologize if you see any kind of funny or incorrect phrases or translations. But Flavia, is there anything else you wanted to ask?
Bueno, gracias por el espacio.
Thank you very much for this opportunity and for everything that you have been sharing. This meeting is very, very, very enriching. I like especially the opportunity to listen to voices coming from all over the place. Here in Argentina, we were discussing lately the financing of the debt, of the national debt. And I would like to know how we can articulate all these voices we have internationally, and how this can affect the payment of the national debt, and how the sustainable development goals can have an impact on national problems like the national debt. And on the other hand, I was thinking about our contribution and our participation at the UN, according to what you mentioned in your presentation, because you mentioned a lot of actions that we can take, and I was thinking about the report, and I've got some material to think about, but I saw some contrast between our reality in Argentina and what you were presenting.
So, while I am not an expert in national debt specifically, I will say that when it comes to dealing with what we might call internal problems for various nations, I see the United Nations as a space for all nations to bring those internal problems, because especially in a world so globalized as ours is now, it's almost like there is no internal problem anymore. Every problem within a country is also a problem for other countries and between countries. And of course, you know, it's more globalized now than it ever has been, but this is not a new process. Ever since people started singing boats and exploring different parts of the world, we have made connections over vast areas and have been affecting each other for better and worse. And so we've all been in relationship a long time now, to the point that there's no event within a country that really doesn't affect other countries. And so I think the atmosphere of the UN is an important one, in that it allows that recognition of real solidarity and recognition that none of our problems are simply our own, and that they're really a mutual responsibility. Anywhere there's human suffering, anywhere there's environmental suffering, that is everyone's concern. And that is one of the amazing things about the space. As long as we do the work to preserve that atmosphere of solidarity, and won't allow it to become a space where nations are simply dictating instructions or advice to one another, but are really working together. So that's part of the ongoing work. And let's see, did we get the question from, yes, okay. And Skal, would you mind, oh, I see that was sent directly to me. So hold on a moment. I've got a few questions in the chat
Send
box.
it to me.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Teresa, the Syriacus is raising his hand.
Yes.
So
yes, go ahead. Go ahead, Syriacus.
Thank you very much, Teresa, for your presentation. During your presentation, you talked about, you know, we don't want to hear things that divide us, or us and them, and then we want to hear together. And that is the spirit. For us, religious and some deep spiritual people, they understand this very well and they can work towards that. But what about, how do we bring this and make our political leaders to hear this, those who promulgate the policies in various nations? How do we get them to know this, to understand this, and to work towards that?
So my short answer to that, though this could be a conversation all to itself, but my short answer to that is relationship. So again, I'll say, I think the beauty of the United Nations space is it brings people into the same room or into a same meeting who would never meet naturally in the world. And this space where, of course, we don't all have equal power, we don't all have equal time to speak, so it's not exactly an equal space, but it is an opportunity where we are able to have conversations and to meet leaders of different types as human beings and appeal to them as human beings and have a conversation and present our experiences and concerns, and to give a human face and voice to those concerns. And I think that is a unique potential that is hard to replicate in another setting. And that is part of the reason we feel it's so important that we maintain a presence in the UN system and that we seize opportunities like the various UN conferences, including the HLPF, to engage in that conversation and be a human being who's bringing a concern to the table where it might easily be pushed aside or ignored or forgotten. And so that's the work, it's to be present and do whatever we can to be in relationship, to keep the conversation going. I think that's at the heart of what we do.
Okay, thank you.
And Pascal, could you help me with the question from, okay, I see it now. Okay, so the question is from DJ. In year 2000, the UN agenda was the Millennium Development Goals, which were only 8 in number. And then in 2015, we had the Sustainable Development Goals, which are now 17 in number. And there are many improvements, I would say, in the transition from first agenda, the Millennium Goals, the current agenda, the Sustainable Development Goals. And we could, again, talk very long about this, but one of the most important points is that the Sustainable Development Goals were created in a much more inclusive way. The Millennium Goals were kind of invented by a small group of people in a closed room, and it was just a new idea. It wasn't really that thorough in its process. And the current agenda, the SDGs, that was a very long process of consultation that included, of course, the government, but many other sectors of society, members of our religious community at the UN, had a say in crafting these goals. And in particular, actually, there's even a line in the text related to Goal 6, water and sanitation, that was specifically fought very hard for members of the religious community. And that was a line that was naming that, in fact, that safe drinking water and sanitation are a human right. And they fought very hard for that and were successful. So that's one of the main points of improvement, which I think will also set this agenda up for greater success than the previous one had. But as with all things, this is, I'll say, an iterative process. We're constantly revisiting what has worked and what hasn't worked in the past, and just seeking to improve it little by little. And I would say with certainty that the process of creating this current agenda was much stronger than the process that led to the earlier agenda, and that that gives it so much more power. There's more investment from the whole global community, and the agenda itself is also much more comprehensive and recognizes how many different types of issues need to be considered together to have success. So I'm hopeful for those reasons. All right, and we're nearing the end of our time together. So I do want to just offer a little bit more information about what you can expect as we move forward together, and how we can continue to prepare and continue to learn together as we continue down this path. So just a quick outline of our plan. We will continue to have global calls like this one today, and there will be 5 more of those happening in February, April, May, the 1st of July, and the 22nd of July. And all of them will be happening at the same time as they were today. And I emphasize, I put a star here on the 22nd of July, just to emphasize that will be our last global session together, this program. And if at all possible, if you can't make every single session, please make your best effort to make it this one, as that will be our one opportunity to exchange our ideas and impressions after the actual conference takes place. And so that will be a very rich moment for us to share our experiences of the HLPF as we finish our program as a delegation. We will also have 2 regional meetings, which you all will, I'll get you together into little email groups to help you decide on a particular date and time that works best for your regional group. And we'll do that. We'll have one of those in the month of March and another in the month of June. And we'll also organize the Zoom room and interpreters as needed for those regional groups. And the idea in having those smaller meetings is to allow you to discuss issues that are more specific to your region of the world and get into more detail about your experiences in that particular region. So that will be another piece of our puzzle. And I will also continue to offer you materials to read or to study or view for each of our calls together to help facilitate some learning and some reflection before we come together. And if you do miss any of our calls, we are recording them in all 4 languages. So we will put those on the JCoR website and ask you to visit and watch those recordings if you miss one of the calls so that you can stay up to speed with everyone else. And then when we finally arrive at the conference days in July, the 5th to the 15th, you will be asked to participate in at least one session of something that we're calling the JCoR SDG Lab. And that essentially will be a series of Zoom calls in which you'll be called upon to share a personal experience that you have had working on one of the SDGs that is a priority or a focus for this year's conference. And you'll be asked to exchange ideas among yourselves about how you think your nation in particular or region in general could accelerate progress toward the SDGs for the community that you serve. So it's kind of an opportunity to tell your own specific story in connection with an SDG. You'll also be encouraged during those days to try to watch when your national government is presenting their report on their progress toward the SDGs. And if you can't see that live, there will be a way to see a recording afterward. And we encourage that very much, as it's important to hear what our own governments are saying. And another option that you'll have is that you can attend via video conference other events and panel discussions that will be happening during that week. But that's completely optional. We know you have much other work to do, many ministries, so you can't devote 10 full days to following these events, but you will have the opportunity to attend as much as you're able. So the next steps between now and our next call, I will be sending you this link to a questionnaire, which you should respond to in the next 3 days. So by the 1st of January. If you're interested in working with other members of civil society within your country, and that includes those beyond its JCoR delegation, who will be drafting an official statement that will be delivered to your government when they make their progress report in July. And this group will also be coming up with and presenting questions that will be asked of your government representative after their presentation. So this is really a wonderful opportunity for you to speak directly to your government representatives by working with this team. So if you're interested in that at all, I encourage you to complete that questionnaire by the 31st of January. And then you will be contacted later as the group starts to meet and get organized. And then, of course, we'll ask you to register for our next call as a group, which will be the 25th of February at the same time as today. And also watch your email box for more information and reflection materials from me that you can look at ahead of our next call. And that is everything that I had to share. And I know we're just past our designated end time as well. Are there any critical questions or anything confusing to anyone that should be asked right now? Yes, Rohan.
The question that you are speaking about, is it that was prepared by the major group or?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, they have extended the time of the survey.
Good.
Yeah, not on January 31st, but extended.
Oh, okay. So do you know the new date?
No, they didn't say the date, but take it in next month, no, February.
Okay. So Rohan is telling me we have more time for the questionnaire. So I will give the correct new deadline when I email everyone after this session. So I'll find the new date and include that. And Anne-Marie, I see your hand.
Yeah, I just want to know, so I guess everyone, even there were a lot of people, I guess, that didn't make it onto this call. So I'm wondering they'll get all the material and the link to watch this session and everything else?
Yes, exactly. Okay. We'll send all the materials to everyone who was registered for today, and hopefully we have an even bigger group next time.
Okay, thank you. It was great, thank you.
Thanks for being here. Okay. Well, with that, then I think I will call us to a close for today and say thank you all again very much for taking time to be here in community, your patience listening to me speak for so long, and I look forward to continuing to write to you and to seeing you again on February 25th. A good rest of your day or night.
Andrew, how are you?
Thanks so much, everyone. Great job, Teresa. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it really was great.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. And thank you, my Clarissa brothers.
Bye.
Yes, God bless all of us.